As the war enters its second week, Israel and Iran continue to attack each other with missiles and drones. Israeli airstrikes hit the northern Iranian city of Rasht early on Friday. Iran, on the other hand, used a missile with multiple warheads on Thursday, posing a new challenge to the Iron Dome defense system, the Israeli military said. These latest Iranian strikes hit a hospital in southern Israel and homes in Tel Aviv, wounding 240 people. The IDF also confirmed that they carried out airstrikes on Friday targeting the areas around Kermanshah and Tabriz in western Iran. The military said 25 fighter jets struck missile storage and launch infrastructure components Friday morning. A week of Israeli strikes has now killed at least 657 and wounded 2,037 people across Iran, according to a Washington-based NGO, humanitarian rights activists. The IDF claims it destroyed two-thirds of Iran's missile launchers, while the UN's nuclear agency confirmed on Friday a strike damaged the Arak heavy water reactor. Amid the escalating conflict, countries including Australia and the Czech Republic closed their embassies in Tehran. The White House says President Donald Trump will decide within 2 weeks whether to join Israel's campaign while still seeing a chance for diplomacy. European diplomats, on the other hand, meeting with their Iranian counterpart in Geneva, agree there is a narrow 2-week window to de-escalate and avoid a wider war.
More countries are evacuating their nationals from Israel and Iran. The now week-long conflict has blocked much of the region's airspace, leaving people unable to leave the Middle East. On Thursday, a repatriation flight transported nearly 70 people from Israel to Portugal. Around 50 of them were Portuguese nationals. The Portuguese government this week also announced the temporary closure of its embassy in Tehran. In Serbia, 38 people arrived safely in Belgrade last night, most of whom were Serbian citizens. The country's prime minister met with the Egyptian foreign minister in Cairo on Thursday to discuss the emergency evacuation of more than 2,500 Serbian nationals stranded in Israel. In Romania, over 100 people arrived in the capital Bucharest on Friday on military transport planes from the Middle East. The Romanian Ministry of Defense sent planes after Romanian nationals requested assistance to leave the conflict zone, but did not specify which country they departed from. Russia's summer offensive continued overnight, striking the Black Sea port city of Odessa and the northeastern city of Kharkiv, according to local officials. In Odessa, a 4-story building was overtaken by flames as Russian drones sparked widespread fires in residential areas. At least one person has died and 14 others have been injured, including emergency workers trying to rescue civilians after a structure collapsed, say Ukrainian authorities. In Kharkiv, civilian infrastructure was also hit, injuring 4 people, 2 of whom were children. Further 4 people were injured in a second Russian strike on Friday. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched a total of 80 Shahed and decoy drones overnight, 70 of which were intercepted. President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for more pressure to be put on Russia to agree to a ceasefire following this week's attack on Kyiv, in which 28 people were killed and more than 140 injured. It was the deadliest assault on the capital this year.
Wake Up is the chorus of the song that Jenny BSG choreographed for the Dance for Refugees campaign. The dancer spoke to Euronews about this call for action ahead of World Refugee Day, celebrated every year on the 20th of June.
Into me, because wake up means also everyone needs to wake up. It's time to talk about it. It's time to help. It's time to react. We can't stay silent. We have to speak up for oppressed people, and this is what I'm doing.
The social media campaign challenges people to post their versions of the choreography on Instagram and donates funds. It's aimed primarily at young people who Jenny works with at her dance school and when she travels abroad.
Try to target the new generation because for me, they are the change. They can do the difference in this world. And dance was, for me, the good way to attract attention and to change this narrative, to put, to celebrate the strength, the potential, the resilience of refugees.
Jenny BSG was born in Belgium, where her family sought refuge from the war in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. A background that left its mark on the artist and led her to activism in collaboration with the UN High Commissioner for Refugees.
My family, they fled violence in the 90s, and my two elder brothers, they spent time in refugee camp. My mother, she has experienced displacement. My dad too, violence, fear, struggle. Today, I'm the living proof that refugees' background doesn't limit it doesn't define the limits of refugee. It defines their strengths.
The United Nations says there are currently 123 million forcibly displaced people worldwide, twice more than a decade ago. Almost 37 million of them are refugees. The organization warns that recent drastic cuts in humanitarian aid funding are putting their lives at risk.
A 24-hour national strike in Italy has disrupted large parts of the public transport system throughout the country. The strike, which began on Thursday night, spanned across the rail, air and local public transport sectors, with many trains, buses and flights cancelled. Organized by multiple grassroots organizations, the unions are asking for less military spending to allocate more public funding for healthcare, education, safety and public transport. They're also demanding higher wages and a reduction of working hours for workers. By Friday afternoon, some services started running more regularly again, including Rome and Milan's metro service.
A U.S. appeals court has ruled that President Donald Trump can maintain control of the military in California. The decision halts a ruling from a lower court judge who found the president acted illegally in doing so. A three-judge panel unanimously concluded that Trump probably acted within his authority after deploying National Guard troops in LA to calm protests sparked by immigration raids. It said the government had presented enough evidence to show it had a defensible rationale for doing so, citing violent acts by protesters. Trump's decision was strongly opposed by the state's governor and prompted a national debate about the use of military on U.S. soil.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda are set to sign a peace agreement. The deal was brokered by the United States and is set to be signed on the 27th of June. The provisional agreement, announced by the U.S. State Department, covers issues including disarmament, the integration of non-state armed groups, and the return of refugees and internally displaced people in eastern DRC. Eastern DRC has been gripped by violent conflict spanning back decades. Several armed groups are competing for access to precious natural resources including gold, copper, cobalt, and lithium. Congo has accused its neighbor Rwanda of backing one of the largest groups in the conflict, known as the M23. The UN estimates that 4,000 of the group's fighters are troops from Rwanda, though Kigali has strongly rejected those allegations. M23 is one of approximately 100 armed groups involved in the conflict vying for control in the region. Congo and Rwanda are not formally at war and in the past have held peace talks aimed at resolving disputes in eastern DRC. Angola stepped down in March as mediator between the two countries after several attempts at brokering peace. Other nations like Qatar also attempted to mediate the conflict in the past with no success.
In a new step for the protection of cats and dogs in Europe, the European Parliament has backed a draft law on the breeding, housing and handling of these pets. The bill would make it mandatory to microchip and register cats and dogs in a bid to combat illegal animal trafficking.
MEPs have finally taken a step today that we've been waiting for years that could end the illegal pet trade once and for all in Europe. They have made good on at least 4 resolutions from the past to ensure that we end up with mandatory identification and registration for all dogs and cats. And now we trust that the Council and Parliament will take this file forward in the next few weeks during trilogue negotiations and look forward to a pretty much perfect law that ultimately will please citizens and save animals alike.
To prevent animal exploitation, MEPs also want to limit the number of litters a female animal can have in her lifetime. The rules would apply universally to all breeders regardless of their size.
The European Parliament took a positive step in terms of covering small breeders within the proposal on dogs and cats welfare. This is a huge issue because in some countries actually it's 80% of breeders who are having less than 4 litters per year. And if this wasn't covered, that would be a huge gap for the whole market.
There are 127 million cats and 104 million dogs in the European Union, and around 44% of EU households own a pet. The annual value of the sector is estimated at 1.3 billion euros.